The topic of my presentation is electrical properties of humidity and temperature sensor based on a novel cage nickel sulfide, and it is related to the humidity sensor studies. What is humidity? Humidity is the presence of water vapors in air, and why we monitor this humidity in air, because the water contents in air uh, very affecting the human life and comfort, and also it affecting the industrial processing. Especially the water vapors also influence the physical and chemical and biological processes, and it also affect the business cost of the product and the health and safety of the personnel. Hence, humidity sensing is very important in this regard in industrial, on industrial side and in human comfort. Why humidity sensor? Because we are using usually humidity sensors to monitor humidity in automobile industry, food processing, and semiconductor industries, because humidity, as I told, affecting the uh, semiconductor industries or vapors in the semiconductor industries uh, very badly. And humidity, so there is a need to control the humidity in the environment, and that is why humidity sensors have very broad application, including industrial, agriculture, environmental monitoring, personal safety, national security, and automotive and aerospace industries. So there are many other areas in which humidity sensors are applicable. For example, in libraries, museum, cloth dryers, electronic devices, paper and textile industries, air cooler, broiler farming, food and cereal stocking, and in medicine. So these are the application areas of the humidity sensor: the semiconducting industries, the medical industries, and the agriculture based industries, and domestic applications. So in all these areas, these humidity sensors are very efficiently used to monitor the humidity in the environment. So this is what we are talking, that this photograph is taken from Art Lake, Australia, a bar painting which split after drying out in a low relative humidity environment. So for this purpose, we need to have a proper humid environment to preserve such kind of painting, bar paintings. And this is the industrial application of the humidity sensor. If the humidity is not monitored efficiently, then the insect will generally damage the in the warm dam environment, the clothes or the cotton industry. So humidity sensor fabrication. First of all, we uh, prepared the solution of cage nickel sulfide, and then we drop cast it between the two electrodes on a glass which is already deposited on the glass substrate, and then we made a connection, electrical connection, and we measured the capacitive and resistive response of the cage nickel sulfide material uh, when the humidity in the environment or the chamber humidity chamber is increased from uh, very low humidity to very high humidity up to 95% humidity. This is the surface of the material, which plays very crucial role in the humidity sensing process. This is the same image of cage nickel sulfide material, and we see here flakes of the material are formed on the surface, and there are also pores and pores channels available on the surface of the material, and one can see these pores and pores channels in the material, and also the flat surfaces of the flakes on the surface of this material. This is basically the humidity setup in which the humidity sensor is placed over here, and the dry nitrogen is purged from here from this nitrogen cylinder, and here is a distilled water is placed and which is purged into this compartment where the humidity sensor is placed. So we gradually increase the humidity sensor, and the surface of the sensor, which is based on cage nickel sulfide, absorb water molecules on the surface, and also the water molecule percolate inside the pores and pore channels, which we saw in the ACM image of our material. So this is basically what happened. This is what is the conduction mechanism, how this conduction mechanism take place from one electrode to another electrode. So this is basically that same image of the surface of that material on which this cartoon is shown, how the water molecule are adsorbed on the surface of this material. So the first layer, which we call it chemisorb layer, because this is chemically adsorbed on the surface of the material, and this layer, first layer of the water molecule, is less mobile as compared to the first and second and so on layer above it, because this is chemically bonded with the surface of the material. So this is less mobile, and we will see that during this surface adsorption of the water molecule, the capacitance of the device is quite low. Uh, when we are increasing the the water molecule in the chamber where the sensor is placed, the water molecule are adsorbed in the physisorption manner, where the protonic conduction take place, and hydronium ion are formed, and the protonic conduction is placed, and H plus ion is transferred to the other electrode side. And this is on the very left side through chemical formulae. We can see that this is a water molecule. Due to the autoionization of the water molecule, H plus ion is available over there, or due to this chemical adsorption on the surface of the water molecule, hydrogen ion are formed. So these hydrogen ion interact with this hydrogen atom, and protonation set on. Similarly, here this is in the second step. This hydronium ion is formed due to the addition of this H plus ion, and this we see that in the next step this hopping mechanism is started, and this hydrogen is bonded to now the second hydrogen atom, and hydronium ion is formed now at this position. And this is hopping mechanism uh, is formed. Hopping mechanism is going on toward the right, and here is hydrogen plus ion is released. So this is basically the conduction mechanism, which we call it Groth's mechanism. This is the resistance and capacitive behavior of our sensor. When the relative humidity in the chamber where the sensor was placed is increased from 30 to 40 to 90 percent RH, the capacitance of the is increased from this uh, from about 16 picofarad to 42 picofarad. Sorry, 38 picofarad, from 15.9 picofarad to 38 picofarad, when the humidity is increased from 39 to 90% RH. Similarly, the resistance we see that due to the hydrogen transfer, we see that uh, the protonic conduction or H plus ion transfer, the resistance of the sensor is the material is decreased from 2.94 into 10 raised to power 8 ohm at at 30% RH to the 2.3 into 10 raised to power 6 ohm at 90% RH. So it means that when we increase the humidity from 30% to 90% RH, the resistance of the sensor is dropped from there is a drop of 2 order of magnitude of resistance drop uh, in 2 order of magnitude uh, drop in the resistance of the sensor. This is basically how the chemisorption and physisorption uh, affect the capacitive behavior of the material. So here we shown the curve fitting. So we have two sort of slopes available in our data. The one is the first one is from 30 to about 55% relative RH humidity region. This slope is very low, and we see that the goodness of fit of the data is 0.99, which shows a linear behavior in this chemisorb layer. So because the chemisorb layer is less mobile, so that is why we have a capacitance, a very low value of capacitance from 30% RH to 55% RH. When I mean when we increase the relative humidity in the chamber from 30% to to 55%. So when we increase beyond 55%, the relative humidity up to 90%, we see that there is a abrupt increase in the capacitance of the sensor, and for which we have a goodness of it is 0.9, uh, 0.8, 0.86, which is again shows a very linear behavior. So this large increase in the capacitance of above this 55% RH, yeah, or we increase the when we increase the relative humidity from 55% to 90% relative humidity. So the capacitance increase because the water is adsorbed in a physisorb manner, where the water molecule behave like a bulk liquid. So where the conduction mechanism of the H plus ion, which we showed earlier in the growth mechanism, is uh, uh, is very feasible, and it moves very easily from the one electrode toward the other electrode. So the capacitance of the device is increased with the increase of humidity. There is a problem with normally with the capacitive types sensors. The behavior of the sensor is not very linear. So for this purpose, we transform our data by defining the sensor response, and we use this formula as reported in the literature, where C is the capacitance at some elevated relative humidity, and C35 is the capacitance of the sensor when the humidity was at 35% RH. So this is uh, shows the capacitive the response of the device, which shows that up to 60% the device response is very linear, and then it deviates from linearity above 60% relative humidity. This is the setup that we developed locally in our lab for temperature sensing setup. This is basically a glass, and this is a heater, and here we fix a thermometer to monitor the temperature, and we increase the resistance of the wire to to further elevate the temperature, where we kept the in this compartment we kept the sensor, and two uh, connection are taken from the sensors which is connected to the LCR meter, and we noted the capacitive response of the device with temperature. When we moved when we increase the temperature from 30 to 80 degrees C, we see that the capacitance of the devices increases. This is the red color is for one for the we tested our sensor at 1 kilohertz, and this black one is for 10 kilohertz. The for 10 kilohertz, this capacitance is dropped. If we see at 80 degrees C, the capacitance is dropped from here to here. This is the reason we see that there is a lot of contribution toward the polarization. So one is the electronic polarization, ionic polarization, and space charge polarization. And it is from the very basic physics, we know that when we increase the applied frequency, so the ionic dipolar molecular polarization, or the ionic polarization, if contribution is ceases out, that is why when we increase the external extrinsic frequency, external applied frequency from 1 kilohertz to 10 kilohertz, the we see a drop in the capacitance of the device. So the reason is that all at higher frequencies, only electronic contribution remain, and all other contribution toward the polarization is ceases out due to the ionic molecular or orientational polarization. So that is why at higher frequency the capacitance of the device or the sensor is reduced. This is a response and recovery time is very crucial, because in certain applications we need quick response and quick recovery time, or another word, we need a very short response time and a very short recovery time, because we need to monitor many things. So that is why we need a very quick or very short recovery time in order to use the sensor for to be ready for another data acquisition. So response and recovery time, the sensor will be more effective if the response and recovery time is very short. So this is uh, the response and recovery time of our sensor, which is noted to be the response time was noted to be 25 second, and the recovery time was was noted to be 30 second. And we also repeated this measurement for another cycle to check that it is repeatable or not. So this is what we did. So our data shows that it is a repeatable. Our sensor is repeatedly produce the same, almost the same results. So repeatability is our sensor is very good. This is the hysteresis loop uh, for the sensor. The resistance, when we increase the humidity inside the chamber from 30% RH to 90% RH, the resistance of the device is decreased, which means which shows a semiconducting behavior. This is also observed with the uh, temperature effect. So we noted that it behaves like a semiconducting material. But here in this case, as we know that there is a hydrogen H plus ion contributing, which hopping from one molecule to another molecule. So as we increases the humidity, so water layer added up, and that is why the resistance of the devices is decreased. Then we uh, gradually decreases the humidity in the reverse order, and we check that to check that the hysteresis of the devices, which is we see here very low. So for a good sensors, the uh, hysteresis loop should be as narrow as possible. So we compared then our results with the already published work, uh, which we found in the literature. So the operating temperature in our case was 25 degree C room temperature. The response time that we noted is in our case is 25 second, and the recovery time was 30 second. Where alpha Fe2O3 nanoparticles, the the author in reference 7 observed that their response time of their devices, which was based on alpha Fe2O3 nanoparticles, was 29 second, and recovery time was 630 second, which is quite high. So, in comparison to this alpha Fe2O3 material, this cage nickel sulfide material showed a very quick response and recovery time. Similarly, for other material, multi-wall carbon nanotube thin film sensors, their response time is a bit low from our response time, which is 2025, and here in multi-wall carbon nanotube is 20 second, but our recovery time is a bit quick than the multi-wall carbon nanotube, which is 40. And similarly, we also compared in here is CNT slash silicon based sensors, which is both the response and recovery time are very good as compared to our one. So in some cases we have edges on the other material, and other some other materials also have good sensing mechanism, and they have good response and recovery time as compared to our one. These are the references, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I wonder how can be decrease the response time or uh, recovery time, or for example, recovery time is related to temperature as well, right? Do you hear me, Dr. Rahman?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, how can we decrease the
yeah.
recovery time or response time?
Uh, Yeah, the recovery and response time also depends on the material nature and material structure. If the material, sometimes the material is uh, hydrophobic and hydrophilic sometimes. So it
Yeah.
depends on the surface of the material and its interaction, and it also depends on the adsorption and chemisorption process of the material, and it depends on the pores and pore channel and sizes of the pore channel, and also it depends on the uh, if we go into more detail, it also depends on the grain boundaries inside the material as well, and defective nature of the material.
Okay. Thank you very much.